What's up, everybody? It's your boy Stuff from Fabtcg, and today I have my series of U.S. national deck techs. So, as you guys know, I am a part of Team Oni, and this is a Flesh and Blood team based off Chillicothe, Ohio. Total Game Experience, check them out. And as the coach slash manager slash deck builder, I also play under their name whenever I do play at events, which is not a lot, but whenever I do obviously rep them. I built a lot of the decks that you guys are going to see today and tomorrow. I have a bunch of deck techs coming out. Now, at the time of recording this video, I actually am not fully locked in on a deck. I'm like soft locked on one of the heroes that you guys are going to see. But what usually happens at a lot of big events that I go to is I'll lock in on an event. I'll lock in on a deck super early. And then right before, and I mean like a week before, even sometimes a few days before I travel, I just start chain losing on that deck. And like sometimes it'll be like some of the most easy matchups in the world. I just start getting smashed. Why is that? I don't know. But it's the reason I kept myself kind of open. And also building the decks for other team members helps me out because I get to understand more of what I possibly would like to do. And the deck tech that you guys are going to see today, one of the three, is going to be the Victor list. So first we need to say why Victor. Because the consensus online is there's no reason to play Victor because Enigma is unwinnable, New is unwinnable, Kano unwinnable, Prism unwinnable. Like there's so many decks that people are claiming is unwinnable for Victor. So there's two things I would like to talk about. Number one, every one of those matchups is actually quite winnable. I'd say out of all of those, Enigma might be the hardest. But I don't think it's impossible to win. I think the whole issue with Victor and his bad matchups is, unlike other decks, he has almost no wiggle room. You almost have to play every turn cycle to perfection, where as other decks in their bad matchups, they have ways they can wiggle around stuff. They can slack a little bit. Things can go wrong, and like they may even not immediately just lose the game and never be able to come back. With Victor and his bad matchups, I just don't believe you have that room. So if you're going to take a deck like this, you have to believe that you can make the right play every single turn cycle and never go back in the game and say like, oh, I should have clearly have done this. Because then, like, yeah, there's just no point in taking this deck with the wiggle room it has. But the upside that you do have is your Azalea and Ninja matchup is still very good. Which is one of the reasons that you actually see Victor's top still, even after MST came out. Is they some decks just cannot outvalue Victor, or some decks just can't penetrate what Victor's trying to do. And the fact that you have two positive matchups as your possibly two of your top three decks, that's a really good shout. That is a reason to kind of circle back and play Victor. So let's go to the list. So people that know my MAJF list, this is actually very, very similar to that list with some optional changes. Starting off with the base equipment, we have Archimagus, standard, Balance of Justice, very standard. You can use Crown of Providence in this slot. I've actually seen some people even use Skullcap. I think that's cooking a little bit too hard. But your personal preference between Providence and Justice is kind of what you're more scared of. If you're more scared of those Arsenal Disruption effects by New and like the Guardian Mirror, or sometimes even Azalea, you can play the Crown of Providence. But if you're more scared of like the Ninja decks, the Brute decks, you can play the Balance of Justice. While I do think you already have a good Ninja matchup, I think this is one of the reasons that the Ninja matchup becomes so good, because you have a 5-block in your head, or a 2-block, and then a blue, hopefully whenever you need it to be able to return offense or be able to block something extra. I just believe the balance is doing exactly what you want. Those matchups where Crown of Providence inherently doesn't do anything wrong. It is just, if you don't have an arsenal, it is just a vanilla 2, and it will always be that. And when it is optimal to block with Crown of Providence, you may not want to, or you may have to give up another card from your hand where you may not, again, want to. But at least with the Balance of Justice, there's enough effects in the format that draw cards, and you always just get to hand whenever you want to. And secondarily, both of their floors are block 2s. which does double circle back around to. Neither is really incorrect. It is more personal preference. I would personally like to hedge towards Brute because I think Levi and KO are both very good right now, and Levi specifically also plays Art of War, and then there's a bunch of ninjas running around, so I would like to hedge slightly more against them. Civic Steps, pretty standard. Tunic, I'm a Tunic believer, always have been. I've never really been a Tectonic playing person. I think there's even less reason to play Tectonic playing now unless you're just like super scared of exactly Prism. And you think you can fatigue Azalea, like you needed to fatigue Azalea, which I don't think you need it. Or maybe if you randomly think like Katsu comes back and you want the extra armor block, but I don't think any of these things are true. I think Tunic does the job just fine, and it's super diverse. Gauntlets, I mean, they're going to have to power creep the fuck out of RMPs for me not to play this. And Stonewall is not good enough to. We are not a deck that would ever need Stonewall Gauntlets, so we freely get to just play Gauntlets of Ironwool and feel pretty good about it. And then we are on Grindstone. I'm doing my best to hedge into some of the ninja decks and the Azalea. Again, I am trying to like pinpoint my deck to beat that, and also like it has good game in the new. Obviously, the decks that this is weakened to is KO and the Mirror. But outside of that, I feel pretty good about bringing Grindstone versus every other deck. And because we're on Shield, I am concerned even less. Because realistically, you shouldn't be losing a lot of clashes, but you have the get out of jail free card, and once you make like 1 or 2 gold, and you can consistently like re-roll, because it's hard for you to lose 2 clashes in a row versus most decks. You don't really get punished by playing Grindstone, but if you want to play Titan's Fish, you're more than welcome to. I don't think it changes the deck a ton. Obviously, you remove the downside of Grindstone possibly becoming a very easily blockable weapon, because that's the edge of Grindstone. It's always 4. Like it doesn't matter what you pitch. But obviously comes the downside if you lose the clash, it becomes a 3. It's a very easy 1-card block, but to be fair, I'm a person, I don't mind that, because they're always just going to put a card in front of it. Unless this becomes a 0-based weapon, this always has text. Now, will filling up someone's graveyard like a Zen, Katsu, or someone help them, or even Levi help them? Oh, absolutely, it can. It definitely has a downside. I'm never going to claim like the milling is always a downside. But I think it has enough upside in the format overall to where I'm fine with running it. But again, you can easily run Titan's Fist and it'd be completely fine. I also have a cold full of Grindstone. I want to use it. So going on to the main deck, 51 cards, just like normal. You bring in 9 cards. CNC, a very standard card. You're always going to play CNC. I'm on 6 red and blue disable, the 1 yellow. It offers a very unique breakpoint versus decks with armor and D-reacts. I'm trying to like really hedge my bets because I think Arsenal Disruption is actually very important in this format. The only thing that's keeping me from going like pure rainbow is I needed deck space for a few other cards. But yeah, I think like touching someone's arsenal is super fucking important, especially with like Zen's running around with like those like 4 cards. I think New, it like really hurts New a lot because New really wants to like maximize every single resource that they have, and if they just have an additional resource in their arsenal zone, they'll definitely be able to start getting on New. But if you consistently pressure their arsenal, especially with a high power attack as well that they have to block very uniquely, I think you're looking pretty good. E-Strike. It's a card. Okay, I'll be completely honest with you guys. It is a card I nearly cut to 2. I cut to 2 for a long time, and I almost wanted to cut it entirely. And the reason why is I think to be a good E-Strike deck, you should be able to pick all 3 modes pretty consistently. Yes, there's some exceptions where they're fine with it always being like a 0 for 7 or something, but a 0 for 5 go again into like hammer is like that's 9. It's a 3-card 9, which obviously not too bad. Obviously, I would like it to be more of a 3-card 10 maybe. But like you're doing okay, but like it's the grindstone's only really good part, and it's like what happened on your opponent's turn for you to like block with one card and send this or arsenal card. Like, I feel like the matchup's not. I feel like I'd rather block with an additional card and just send E-Strike for 7 than go E-Strike for 5 into 4. Like, yeah, it's 9 versus 2, but I'm up 3 life, so I just net 1 value. E-Strike for 7, obviously very good. We take that every time. And then is E-Strike draw card. Like, so you would look at the deck, and there's plenty of cards you wouldn't mind arsenaling. But like, what if you draw one of these blues? Now you're like, ugh. Like, fucking thunk? Yeah, what if you draw this? An ISIP, you just lost damage. Or it would have go again to draw a test of strength, then just be like, I guess I know what my next card is. Like, that's not the place where you want to be, so I don't enjoy E-Strike draw card. So this card only has 2 modes. And it really only has 1 mode, because again, the amount of times you do Gogan and the hammer is not often. So if this card's only a 0 for 7, or a 2 card 7, while on rate that's very good, I would like my deck to have a little more disruption or be a little bit more modal. So it makes the cut as of right now. But this is a card, weirdly enough, I am actually personally looking to cut. But, moving on. Spinal Crush. Spinal Crush is really good in this format right now. Oh, specifically into Zen and Azalea. Again, that's slightly what we're hedging towards. It can be good into Nude, depending on what her hand instruction is. This cuts off her ability to use daggers. This cuts off the ability for her to use Go again against you. So, against Nude specifically, another little tip I can give you is you can pretty much formulate what their hand is with how they block this card. If they give you 6 cards, they probably were blue heavy and looking to like dagger you into something else or have go again. So they probably have had go again in their hand or a bunch of blues. Now they can't really use them properly. So you can discern that. If they just take the 9 or take 6 or something, they probably are reaction heavy. Or if they even just like take the 9, they're very reaction heavy. So that can formulate how you're supposed to block their turn cycle. Test of Strength. We're the second best clashing deck. God, I wish KO didn't exist. Hopefully he won't soon. So like we can just be the best clashing deck, and I just don't have to worry about this. And I can like put Test of Strength and Trounce in every single matchup and just tell my opponents that they suck. Golden Sun. 4 for 10 normally. You definitely take that. This can give you the slight edge versus some of the brute decks that don't run a lot of 7s, that run mostly 6s. Which is very relevant because it also makes a go token, so you draw cards. So a lot of times you're strong this card, and then you get to use it on your turn. So this creates very good like game patterns for you. Cheap auto drop. It's there. It's there just to be pummeled sometimes. That's kind of it. Next, same thing with Buckling Blow. It's a blue 6. Choke Slam's a blue 6. Cranial Crush. Cranial Crush is interesting. It's a blue 8. And again, Zen, Azalea, really relevant decks, they like drawing their cards. Decks like Prism like drawing their cards. Like, this is... I don't want to say this card has been an all-time high, because I would have to relook at Flesh and Blood to see if that's true. But I don't know any time recently where there's been a better time to play Cranial Crush than right now. I truthfully don't. Volte, blue 6. Macho Grande. So we've cut out the red Macho Grandes from the last iteration of this list. The 8, the blue one just does solid, comes in for 8. Not much more you can ask for. And I don't really think you need as much Dominate in this format. At least coming from like your reds. Like, I think Macho Grande is normally enough. Rouse the Ninjits, 3 for 7 go again. Pretty simple. Thunderquake, smooth card, pitch you card, send 8. It's what your deck's doing, not a crap ton. Thung is just there to be revealed off of clashes. Visit the Gomez Estate is the new card from MST, and this helps out the deck a lot. This is the deck that allows you to get some of like the reach that you probably see on Twitter, where people coming in for like 13 to 16 plus, and everyone's like, "Whoa, how'd that happen?" It's like, well, visit the Gomez Estate. Especially if you're not actively using your gold a lot and you just let your gold sit there and you find your gold mana state and you create like 5, 6, 7 gold. And then you get to send Spawner Crush for like 13 or something. That's just the dopamine going kind of crazy. And this works off of Tunic. Like literally, you can have just this card, Tunic, gold mana state, draw blue, make might, and then swing your hammer. You can pitch a blue, draw a blue, send Spawner Crush while making might. This card does so much while also being a block 3. Its only downside is it sucks with clashing. But I don't think your fail rate for clash is high enough to where you would need to cut more cards just to have this in. I think having this in is completely fine, and I'm definitely down to create a bunch of might if it means I might accidentally lose one of my clashes. Again, with all the gold that you should be having, you can reroll those clashes, and then you should be fine. Going on to the sideboard, we have 3 Chokeslam. Chokeslam is going to be for, obviously, things like Ranger, certain times versus Ninja, but not often. Decks like Bolton and all that stuff. Decks like KO. But that's kind of it. Like, Chokeslam isn't a really huge standout card right now. Like, I mean, it's definitely playable. I mean, it's also 4 free at its floor, and realistically should be a 3 free because you're using it with Tunic. So it's like, not the worst thing, but it's not like universally just hitting everything like you would like it to. Because some decks that this was good into are a little bit down the totem pole, but it's still good enough, and there's enough decks relevant enough to where we still want to run this. Crush the Week. Crush the Week is a card that I was very hesitant to add to this deck for the longest time. I did not want to add Crush the Week. What made me run it is the fact that it had more play into just new. Sorry, just Zen. I found out it had a lot of play into new as well. And the fact that it had play into new as well is what really pushed us over the edge. And says, okay, we have to send a 2-card 7 that has text versus decks I am, 1, scared about, and 2, the other one I think is super popular. I don't know what more you could ask for. I think this is the best of those 3 for 7s. I mean, some people run Crush Confidence. I don't think Crush Confidence is a good card, but hey, who knows? Maybe one day it'll be in this type of list, but for right now, I think it's not good enough to be in the list, but Crush the Week is good enough. Pummel. Pummel is weirdly enough not good enough to be in that main anymore, I think. I think there are some matchups where you're playing very mid-range and control, and Pummel actively does neither of those things. The matchups where you're trying to be the aggressor and you have to disrupt people, I think is where Pummel's going to shine. And there are obviously those matchups, but I think some of those matchups you're actually fine playing mid-range or control. Trounce. Trounce is almost main deckable. I know some people that main deck Trounce. Again, because I know there's going to be some amount of KOs and all that stuff. And then the mirror. It's kind of sketch to have Trounce, but you do have access to your offhand. So if you do lose Clash and you can roll and you win, especially in the mirror, that can just be the mirror breaker right there, just winning a Trounce. Again, it's so close to being main deckable. And I think 1 KO gone, it's 100% main deckable and becomes like one of the best cards in your deck. Zealous is here for Illusionist. That's it. Snag is a card that I still to this day couldn't figure out if it was a PsyOps or not. I've had enough success with this versus new specifically. And yes, technically versus Warrior, but I think you have other problems versus Warrior that Snag isn't really going to address. But again, versus new, it's all pretty good. Maybe me and a lot of other people will be wrong, and we just should have used another card instead of the Snag to try to beat new. But so far, it's worked out for me. Elithos, we are using this in combination with Fanbrace versus Illusionist. We're trying to do what Odin was doing towards the end of his time, was it's go Athos and reactions Fanbrace. You get the 6, your opponent has to either give you 2 cards off rip, and then take no damage, but you get to save a card. Or it's they block 4 or 3. You get to Alethos, and then you get to pump it up to 6, and they take some damage. So even if they know what the play pattern is, it's still into them to like block correctly because you kind of can control if you use the card or not. Arcane Lantern here for Kano. No Room Boots here for Runeblade and Kano. Rampart, I'm playing into Dash, and I'm playing into Kasai. I would be very interested if there's actually more matchups I can play this into. Some of the matchups I tried to play this into, it just never felt better than RM Aegis. Again, I don't know. So some of the decks I can tell you that I tried it into. I tried it into Assassin, specifically new, and it definitely felt fine. But I enjoyed more of the 2 block than 1 block if I needed it out of RM Aegis. But like Rampart didn't feel bad. It wasn't like, oh god, I can't believe this card's in my deck. It was, I think I'd rather just have RM Aegis. But definitely versus Dash and Kasai, I enjoy having Rampart. So that's going to be the deck. There's not too much actually go in depth with about. This is fairly the same deck it's been for the longest time, just a few different changes. And also, it's like, none of it's really like super interesting. It's like, oh wow, it's like, wow, this card is like actually breaking. It's just, we're playing all the good cards that we usually play. We're playing a few tech cards, and that's kind of it. Victor's just a solid deck. That's all he is. He's just solid. Can be really good if clashing is good versus the matchup. Yeah. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment down what you guys want to see next. If you guys played Victor at US Nats, tell me how it did in the comment section. I have zero clue when this is actually will be released. Because again, I'm recording all these before US Nats. And then when I come back, I don't know what my upload schedule is going to be. But it's been your boy Cypher from Fabtcg. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.